In 1964's Hercules, Prisoner of Evil, our protagonist, dubbed Hercules in the English language, tries to solve the mystery of a recent series of murders, seemingly committed by a werewolf. Ah, is this our third werewolf feature for film of the day? Indeed, well, I suppose so. It is mostly our third peplum, really. So let's embark on a brief discussion about Hercules, Prisoner of Evil, also known as Ursus, Terror of the Nights. So who the hell is Ursus, you may have thought? Ursus was a character in the 1951 Hollywood Roman epic Quo Vadis, portrayed by one Buddy Bayer. Once the Hercules craze took off in Italy during the late 50s, due to the Steve Reeves pictures, Italian producers looked for another strongman character to craft goofy adventures for. We all know Machiste was utilized many a time, but they also borrowed Ursus, somewhat, from Quo Vadis. Ursus was remodeled as a warrior boasting superhuman strength, the lead character in 9 separate films from 1960 to 1964. In the English-speaking world, 2 of these films were dubbed to introduce Ursus as the son of Hercules. And no, this is not the same thing as the American dubbing bracket The Sons of Hercules, which several Italian pepla were released under. Hercules, Prisoner of Evil, however, appears to be the only one which refers to Ursus as Hercules for the entire runtime. In this film, Ursus/Hercules is portrayed by the legendary bodybuilder Reg Park. But yes, in addition to being one of those strongman peplum, this is also a kind of a werewolf film. It features very few werewolf tropes. In fact, not much of this film appears to have been shot at night whatsoever. The transformation appears to have little to do with the moon cycle here, and more to do with the whims of a wicked sorceress. This film's direction was credited to Antonio Margheriti, whom you may recognize as the director of a previous film of the day, our premiere peplum, The Fall of Rome from 1963. However, Margheriti, it has been written, found himself really quite busy on the Fall of Rome production, and so his assistant director wound up helming a vast majority of Hercules' Prisoner of Evil, or whatever you prefer to title it. The assistant director's name? One Ruggero Deodato. Yes, you must recall Deodato from our rather early discussion of 2016's Ballad in Blood. I called it Ballad of Blood throughout that entire video, though. Or maybe you don't recall it. Deodato had previously been an assistant director on 2 Roberto Rossellini films, General della Rovere and Anima Nera. According to Wikipedia, he was friends with Rossellini's son. Also, according to Wikipedia, he was an assistant director on a fairly major peplum, Sergio Corbucci's 1962 film The Slave, although IMDb does not seem to verify this. But yes, Deodato, having directed most, if not all, of this particular film, is sourced with 2 books, so I feel more comfortable repeating this claim here. And what a swell direction job it is. I cannot say for certain whether Antonio Margheriti would not have helmed a superior film production. Certainly a number of Margheriti's work is technically impressive, at least later on, but there is an intense attention to interior lighting within this production. Actually, the interiors in general, and maybe you can gauge from my chosen screen caps, seem a lot more considered than the average peplum films. Maybe that is just me, but some of the wide shots utilized give certain interiors more scope than, for instance, throne room scenes in The Fall of Rome or The Magnificent Gladiator. There is a colouring to the cave set which is quite catching and certainly unlike anything in those 2 aforementioned pepla. How are the monster effects? Well, you can note glimpses of those in the screen caps as well. They are what they are. I do find this concept fascinating. Hercules, or Ursus, the established archetypal Western masculine hero, must struggle with the idea that he may be a werewolf. It seems to fit in with my vague ideas within the Ballad in Blood program that Deodato's films generally seem to obsess over the possibilities of human pathos. In this case, we have a noble, iconic hero whom cannot truly assess the danger that he poses to others. Once reliable, he can no longer trust himself to do good, for he is distraught at forces which he cannot defeat in a fistfight. In this case, sorcery. I might be reading too much into this sort of thing. I certainly wouldn't be the first to, surely. So anyway, this is a fun peplum, which doubles as a quasi-werewolf romp as well. My favourite moment in this film may very well be when an extra appears to jump over his opponent and hurl themselves through a stained glass panel. Perhaps they were meant to be grappled and thrown through the panel, but someone felt like showing off their acrobatics, and a certain director just decided to run with it, I guess. But yes, good stuff. Well, I think. I enjoyed this film. Another satisfying peplum caper.